All right, hello and welcome back to the Afrocentrics podcast. My name is Ejiro Osakede, and as you can see on the screen already, I have my guest here with me in the person of Just Ibe, who is the president of TAAS. Remember I mentioned TAAS last week, right? Or 2 weeks ago, yeah? TAAS meaning the Association of African Startups. And this woman is on fire. I mean, I'm so prepared, ready to juice some things out of this woman today because the vision that she carries is just so fireful about Africa. And I feel like we all need to hear that. And that's the reason today we are talking about rebuilding the Africa of our dreams, how to position for change and impact. And so, I mean, I've known Miss Just here for a while now. And I know I knew her first as a public speaker, and then he graduated to the sales guru, and then the next thing we are hearing is Africa, 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 and then not just about Africa. Then it became a bigger and a broader vision, right? That it's now like Africa, and this is a mandate, this is a ministry, and I'm like, whoa, this woman is on fire. So welcome, Ms. Just Ibe. How are you doing today?
Thank you so much, Ejiro. I'm so delighted to be here, and very well done on the work you do with everything, all your different expressions. I follow your work. Well done, well done.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm honored that you honored my invitation to come talk about Africa. I remember first reaching out to you at first. For me, it's just like, this is perfect timing, right? Because I know I approached you before, like, I'd like to feature you. But I also love the fact that you said, you know what, this is the vision. So when you are ready to enter this lane, just call me. And what better time than now with, the agreement signed with the AFCFTA. And I remember being in one of the classes in TAAS, and you kept saying, it should not be heard of us that we who are members of TAAS are the last people to know what's going on. There's a difference between what's happening and what's going on. So we will not be asking what's happening when there are things that are going on. So, but before we go into those deep things, let me get my guest or my audience to meet you. Who is Just Ibe? I know you are the president of TAAS, you are a salesperson and all of that, but from you, when I ask you who is Just Ibe, we want to hear from you.
Okay, so I'm going to make this very relaxing so that it's not all formal. I know I look all dressed up, but let me just make it very simple. I'm a wife. I'm a mother of 3 children. I still want one more child, And my husband keeps saying to me, what is wrong with you? We have 3. I'm like, no, I need one more. As a matter of fact, I have christened the one more child. So we already call his name in our home while we're expecting him. He's not here yet, but he's going to come. So the reason why I'm giving this background is I just want us to know that, this is it's not uptight. Everybody is a normal human being. There's nothing special about Just Ibe. I'm like every other woman that has children. I have a husband. I'm married to my high school sweetheart, by the way. Oh. We grew up together as children. And, one way or the other, we found each other. And we have 3 children together. The professional side of me, I have been consulting for upwards 5 years with SMEs. But before then, I had a banking career in one of the biggest financial institutions in Nigeria. Of course, I think Africa also, because they're Pan-African. And 8 years after my banking career, God decided it was time to move on to greater things. And that's how the Association of African Startups was born. I believe as we go further into this conversation, we would unpack what this is about and how every single African should get on board the vision of rebuilding this country.
In fact, just leading, that's just the next question. What is TAAS really about?
Good. So I'm going to share with this audience the exact way I was given. So Ejiro, I like that when you started, you mentioned earlier that first you knew me as a public speaker, it became sales guru, and now Africa. So in between this journey, something happened. Okay. As much as change is inevitable for every person that is growing, change is constant, but something happened to me along this area. And that's the movement from self-ambition to pursuing a vision, an agenda greater than you. That's what happened to me. So for those who are who are like my friends, my inner circle, they know how ambitious I am in a normal way. If you look at the things I write in my book, you look at me and tell me you're crazy. I literally get enemies just by how audacious my goals are, right? But so what literally happened to me is God stopped me in my track and said, I know that you're ambitious, but let me turn that thing into a tool for doing what I want to do with Africa. I'm just a privileged, and when I say privileged, I'm privileged because I find such a rare privilege that God found me worthy to share his vision with me. TAAS is not my vision. I'm not capable of thinking of something because I care about the next person. And a lot of human beings generally were not capable of being selfless. But God had to stop me in my track to say, I see how you are, the way I created you. And there's nothing wrong with who you are, to be ambitious, driven. There's nothing wrong with who you are, but let me help you channel it. That you are doing something that is for humanity. And by doing something for humanity, everything you're looking for comes to you. As opposed to what we have going on in the world right now, where people are driven by their goals and they're willing to step on people, stumble people, do everything against every other person
where they're going,
to get where they want to get to. And the normal order of things is let it be about the people. The people. That is the missing link in Africa. It's not about me. That's the missing link. The minute everyone gets to that point, you will see the kind of record groundbreaking exploits we have never experienced on the continent of Africa.
I absolutely believe that. I absolutely believe it. It is. It really, truly is. So now tell me, like, now that you started this journey, and I mean, I am a member of TAAS, a bona fide member, a proud one at that. It's been an amazing journey so far, even from just the introductory part that we had last year, and now stepping into the nitty gritty. Meeting the mentors, the coaches, and the tutors that we have in the association, right? So just share a little bit. I could do that, but I still wanted to come from the visionaire to say, what are those things that startups, maybe we should start with defining what a startup is. Maybe people are mixing it up to say, startup, me, I'm not a startup, I'm a small business or something. Maybe we should define what a startup is and tell whoever is watching or listening to this why they should consider being a part of that association.
Thank you so much, Ejiro. Thank you so very much. First and foremost, I like to say to people, the normal index, calculation by the index we have online is 0 to 10 years, right? But I know that the average African will look at themselves and say, no, please, if I'm 8-year-old, I'm not a startup. I don't know why they think being a startup is demeaning.
It's something
strange. That's what happens. It's very strange. It's only in Africa I find that people think being a startup is demeaning. So they are very quick to exclude themselves and say, sorry, I'm not a startup. Why is that so? Because if you actually look at the way businesses in Africa are built, not just Africa, if you ask me, 0 to 5 years, you're actually just trying to catch your feet.
Yes.
It's after 5 years, you actually start being in business. So once we get to that realization, we will see that even when you're 10-year-old in business, you're still a startup because there are things you have to unlearn, relearn, to be able to adapt to what is going on now in the world. In fact, what makes it really easy for everybody to get on board is that the digital economy has entered and taken us by storm, and it has come to stay. So there are businesses who are 10-year-old who actually need what is going on in TAAS more than the average startups because they have gotten comfortable doing business the way they know how to do business. But the digital economy has come to catch up to say you either innovate, get on board the digital space, or you'll be phased out. So they're even a lot more at risk if after running a business for 10 years, you're not able to migrate successfully to the digital platform. You find out that what you have worked on for the last 10 years will just go down the drain. So what we are doing with TAAS is crashing everything you need to know to succeed online and offline on the same level with your Western counterparts. Meaning, as an African business, you have no reason to say I'm disadvantaged because I don't have access to XYZ expositions while the West has it in bulk. That's what we're breaching. To say we're all on a level playing ground. After all, the internet is open for all of us to trade and do business. So if the internet is open, why don't we develop our capacity to trade on that level equally, competitively, so that everybody can trade as a business owner, not as an African versus a Western business owner? And that's what we did by, bringing together the finest consultants in the whole of Africa. It cost us a lot to actually do that as an organization. And we don't think we even charged our members that. We took the Bronx to say, we're bringing the best of the best. So that once you listen to their perspective, in fact, Ejiro, the class that was taught, the second class, what Bankole Williams taught, all the phenomenon he taught is true. I applied it, and if I tell you the result I got in 3 days. Just 3 days. As the president, I listen to every class, I take notes and I action. In 3 days, I applied what the instructor taught us, and voila, the result in thousands of dollars. I'm not kidding. That's to show you that what we are doing in TAAS is literally to pull the average startup out of the world thinks you are disadvantaged to, I have all the advantage, and the world is for me to take.
What you define, you deserve.
Yes. You define, you deserve. Because the social space has created some undertone that conditions a small business as, well, you are at that level and I'm at this level. It's a subconscious conditioning. That's why it looks like the small business owners are struggling to get followers. They're struggling to get likes. They're struggling to get visibility. It's a subconscious conditioning. Even the social networks are wired to make you not feel encouraged, because once you start, before you get even 100 followers, you will sweat. But we are trying to bridge that gap to say, listen, it doesn't matter what you have or not have. Let us start with making you internally believe
that you are capable.
You are a privileged few. Because I say it all the time, 50% of the startups in Africa drive the African economy. That means without you guys, the economy crumbles. That needs to be indoctrinated into your mind every time you look at your business. Even if it's 400 naira, that is $1 that your business make as profit every day. You make 50% of the GDP of every nation on this continent. Without you, they'll crumble. So that should make you feel like I'm not just
part of something.
I'm part of something big. And that means I have a responsibility to drive what I'm part of to go higher so that the index for the nation or the continent would also increase. Case in point, GDP. So that's why we decided that in January, we're going to start with mindset makeover. So that if we bring our members, our startups to that level where they are thinking beyond what the society has conditioned them to be, you will find that they will charter frontiers. They'll do things that they never thought they could do. And I'm not saying this because I'm excluded. I'm also a startup. And just yesterday, I know some of the things I listened to because I took all those classes again. I listened to them one after the other. Because there's something, I'm trying to prove that our concept works. In my life, when you see that our concept works, you have no reason to not believe. And I just shared one with you. Just actioning one thing that Bankole taught, 3 days, the result. I've not even shared it with him yet. When I share it with him, we'll be like, oh my God. So this thing works. What we're doing is revamping first the mindset of the startups to make them believe, to indoctrinate them that they are part of what drives this continent. And once they get into that belief, then there's a conscious effort that they put into making sure that these indexes go up for them individually as business and by extension, the economy of the continent as a whole. So basically, what TAAS is really raising the next set of entrepreneurs that will rebuild the African economy. That's basically what we're here.
So good and so true. And so I think it's really, really strategic, the point where you're starting from, because it's legit on point. Because it feels like if you even give us the solution, as it were, say, okay, you ask every member or every startup in the community, what is your problem? Okay, take one. We would not get it if the mindset is not fixed. And I think, I have been immersing myself in, all of this mindset reconditioning and taking it one. It feels, and I think we often underestimate the damage that has been done to our mindset.
True.
We often underestimate the conditioning that we were not even aware of.
Yes.
So exposing ourselves to this kind of teachings help us realize, okay, there's a conditioning here. But then the journey to now reconditioning that conditioning, oh my goodness.
In fact, let me shock you, Ejiro. A few days ago, I sat down on my work table at home and I decided to do a series of videos to talk to people about why we are not actually dominating in our different fields. And one of the things that stood out for me is the fact that we create symptom-based solutions. And that's what's going on across everywhere in Africa. Even for those who have businesses, they're attacking the symptoms. That's why it looks like the problem will never finish. That's why it looks like we can never completely annihilate a problem. Because we're focused on the symptoms. Imagine that you go to a hospital to go treat, you tell the doctor you have a headache, and he says, I guess it's malaria. He gives you malaria medicine. You go home, you take it, 3 days later, you come back with the same temperature, same headache. At that point, he's forced to do a test to confirm if it's viral, if it's bacterial, if it's fungal. And once he does recognize what exactly it is, he can now give you something to tackle the cause. That's the only way the malaria will leave your body. So we in Africa, as businesses, as social enterprises, are creating symptom-based solutions. That's why it looks like 5 years, 10 years, we can't achieve any results. We're going back again and again to the same problem because we're focusing on the symptoms. And so what I started to say to people is, if we're going to really dominate and do things that nobody has done, we need to leave that instant gratification mode to say, in the next 2 years, I want to have done this. No, it's not going to work. Any change that is going to last and is going to be sustainable will not take you 5 years. In fact, 10 years. The Association of African Startup is not going to end with me. I'm just the pioneer president. In the next few years, I most likely will hand over baton to somebody else to run because I know the vision is generation after generation. That's why we're starting from the root. We're not interested in saying, let's give you marketing and sales strategy, go and do 100% your revenue, and then we boast in here. No. What is really making African startups not succeed is where their mind is at. Once we pull them out of there, we can begin to pour everything. And that's why if you really listen to what Jeremiah chapter 1 verse 10, it says, I have put you above all nations. It says to tear down, to uproot. There's a tearing down or uprooting first. If you don't tear down or uproot, you can't plant and build.
True.
So Africa, if you listen to me, if you're an entrepreneur or you're a social entrepreneur or a visionary, stop creating symptom-based solutions. If not, you recycle the problems. And at the end of the day, 5 years later, you still find yourself dancing around circles. That's not impact. That's not dominion. It's far from it. So let's be comfortable with it's going to take you maybe 5 years, 10 years, even 20 years. You must be comfortable with that. And we must move away from ownership mentality. I own it. I have it. No. It's not about who did it. It's about, was it done?
Vision. Was the vision done? Was it done?
Yes.
Whether it's done by me or you, is it happening? Is the vision gaining expression? That's the bone of contention.
Our lives being transformed. The people's lives that need to be transformed. Are they being transformed? Is Africa getting better for it? Can you actively measure that there's a growth in GDP, growth in revenue, growth in the number of people starting new businesses because of how exposed their minds are now, or because of how open they are to different kinds of information and different kinds of environment where businesses are done? It's a lot of things. It's only in Africa where we have upbringing that literally almost destroys people and they don't know the extent of destruction.
Very true.
So you find out that people are churning mediocre results. You blame them. You can't blame them. You don't understand what has gone on in their entire wiring from childhood. Even the best of us have conditioning. Everyone.
And it's even scary the amount of us who don't even know. Who are not even aware.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's scarier. Yeah. Because for every new level you want to enter into, you will realize that there's a conditioning stopping you from hitting it. So
Tell me about it.
This is us that are learned, that has access to information, access to some level of enlightenment. Imagine those who don't. Imagine those in the villages. Imagine those in the rural areas. Who's going to help them get out of this? And we say we want to fix poverty, we want to eradicate poverty. How? How? So I'm speaking to those who have social enterprises who say they want to fix poverty. Stop giving us aid. Aid is not the way out of driving poverty out of Africa. We don't need aid. We need you to empower and catalyze our mind to create solutions. Even those in the villages, empower and catalyze their minds. Because right there in the villages, life started from there. So we need people who are pouring into their minds to help them turn their own villages into urbanized communities.
Very true. Very true. I mean, the people, if we look at it and compare it with the Western world, not that because we see that, we can be at the same level. They are producing, they are industrializing their farms. There are people who are in the Western world who are not in the cities, who are in their own version of villages, but they are still dominating there. So this mindset thing is just that you're in the village does not necessarily have to put you at a disadvantage. Yes. Because we need people in the village to do the farming. There are no farms in the city anyways. And we need the people in the village. But we need them to know that, okay, they have the right mindset to say, this produce that we're doing is not just for this village. It's not just for the city. It's for the world. You need to start helping them think about exporting and helping them know how they can actually plug it into export. So they are not handling, if they will leave this level of, now my father land be that, people are still disputing onto land. When the land is just there lying fallow, and they are supposed to be farming on and doing great stuff.
So I know somebody's going to be listening to this and say, but the level of literacy is very high. How do you communicate with them? I don't like to listen to problems, quite frankly. And that's the approach I like to take towards things. There's illiteracy, yes. Can illiteracy barrier be broken? Yes. Are there people who can speak the languages to communicate whatever you're trying? Yes. But the thing is, it looks like some people have wired it such that those at the village remain where they are to keep getting what they're getting from them at those incredibly low rates so that they can make a kill for what they get from them. You see where our problems lie.
I think it's really deep. It's really deep. But it is possible. It is possible. Yes, I was watching, I started watching the AFC FTA course, and I've not finished. And just the intro alone and just looking at the perspective and the journey so far, knowing that this is not an idea that just sprang up. No, it has evolved, it has morphed all the way from 1963 down to 2018 that the agreement is signed. And some of the things that jumped at me that I just want you to talk on before we go. I know, guys, this session is a bit longer, but please just bear with us and just kind of juice out the information that we're trying to pass out here, because it is for you. The Afrocentrist podcast is for the African continent. I would like to have you positioned correctly in the new world order, because you don't want to be left behind anyways. So now this thing has been signed, this agreement has been signed. And in the intro course, Dr. Albert, there's one of the perspective, the fourth one says Dr. Albert Zukfak pointed out that parameters, needs to be in place to monitor the execution of this agreement, such that everybody, because the objective is that it's not just about businesses, it's about every African, right? So that you benefit from it. And he was talking about, we need to be able to ensure that parameters are put in place, that execution is done in such a way that everybody involved benefit from it. What do you think? I know in the video you're like, okay, you need to discuss about it later. And I believe that you've had some time to look into that. Can you share with us some of these parameters that you think should be in place for there to be an execution style that will actually benefit everyone involved?
Fantastic. Thank you very much. One of the things that I believe that the AFCTA truly wants to achieve is a single regional market for all the countries. But aside that, it's designed in such a way that even the unskilled people, the skilled people can benefit from everything going on, considering the fact that there's actual infrastructure that allows people to do trading. So it means that some people will be required to actually bring physical goods and services at certain ports to trade. And in this value chain, there's going to be need for both skilled and unskilled labor, skilled and unskilled personnel, right? So across all the entire value chain, different opportunities will spring up for different people. But are Africans aware that this even exists? I doubt it. Now, one of the challenges, one of the concerns I had earlier when we realized that we were going to start in January 2nd, 1st, is that the SMEs were not necessarily paying attention to what is going on. It's getting better. SMEs are beginning to pay attention. In fact, a platform was set specifically to drive SME conversations, which is called Sokuku, right? SOKUK, so it's Sokuku, that's what it's called. So that SMEs can easily trade amongst themselves, having access to all the 55 countries. But what we find is that even in those platforms, very few SMEs have onboarded. That means the larger percentage of people who should be benefiting from a 1.4 billion market are not aware. And that's why we at the Association of African Startups decided to crunch that course into miniature versions that you can easily consume, learn about it, and position. Because if you look at the documents all over the internet, it's a lot to consume. It's a lot. There's hardly any SME that will go sit with it and do it. That's why we decided to break it down in bits. We've done the first one, we'll do the second one, we'll do the third one. So coming back to your question about what parameters do you think should be set in place for proper implementation? Now, this is it. Number one, they need to be able to measure the number of trading going on across SMEs. So let me give you a typical example. 50% of SMEs drive the GDP of the continent. If at the end of the index in 2021, we cannot actually see that 50% grew by a reasonable percentage, then we can't say that this has been effective for the SMEs, because there's a lot of challenge. The SMEs are saying, what about the actual non-tariff barriers, which is those bureaucracies that stop you from actually moving products here and there? What about those things, right? And I know that different governments have put structures in place, but what I want to say to every African is I want us to be patient. This is our initiative. It will take time for it to stabilize. It will take time for those processes and structures to work seamlessly. It will take time for the results to be seen and felt and heard and known. But we must be sold into the fact that this is ours and it must work. Until we pay attention to it, we cannot spot loopholes and hold the appropriate quotas responsible. That's the reason why things go bad, because those who are supposed to be beneficiaries don't care enough to identify the problems and hold people accountable. So I'm saying inadvertently that every startup should pay attention, follow the news, follow the information, follow the implementation. The minute you spot something that is not working, send the email to the appropriate quarters. Don't say nobody will listen to you. Send it. We're in the digital age. Send it. Copy who needs to be copied. Send to the AU. Copy who needs to be copied. Tag everybody on the social. Say it. It will be heard. It will be done. Because the more voices are able to rally around problems, you'll find that solutions will come out. That's what happens in Africa.
Very true. Very true. Fantastic. I love that. Even if that's one thing that we all agree to do, then it makes sense, because when we begin to spot those issues, we begin to set an alarm and make noise about it. But first of all, is even creating this awareness. What is TAAS putting in place outside of, just the community to really make some more noise for more SMEs to get on board?
Fantastic.
And yes.
Fantastic. So this is an announcement that is not officially public, but I'm going to say it here. The Association of African Startups partnered with iGambia. iGambia is a Pan-African news platform that has reached across all the countries in the world, actually. Across all the countries in the world. And our partnership is to bring a lot more attention to small business owners by leveraging interviews we are going to be doing with specific members who are doing great stuff across the continent. And doing so, we're driving a lot more people to say, come and pay attention to what is going on. Their platform already has the reach, the audience, the numbers, and we are just bringing the content that will drive the attention of these SMEs to what is really going on in Africa. That's the first major thing we are doing for this quarter, to be able to drive awareness across board. And of course, as we proceed in the course of the year, there are other partnerships and collaborations that will go on. But this is the first step to actually deepen our penetration in the African market or in the African audience, with a view to getting a lot more young Africans to come pay attention to what is going on the continent.
Fantastic. That's awesome. Like, I love that you are ready. You see, guys, this is what I'm saying. This woman is on fire. She's not even here to play. Okay, so please, if people who are watching this or listening to this want to be like, okay, we have heard, we want to be part of TAAS. Okay, what is it? How can we join? Please, can you share that?
So just go to our website, www.taasafrica.org. TAAS Africa is TAAS Africa.org. I just needed to quickly chip this in. Our website is translated in the 5 African languages: English, Arabic, Swahili, Portuguese, and French.
French, correct.
So any part of Africa where you find yourself and you want to be able to read the content on our website in your language, just go click your language. It will drop everything you need in your language. This is how we truly want to say to people, we're Pan-African. We're not here because it's just everybody needs to benefit, right? So yeah, you want to be a part of it, just go to www.taasafrica.org. What you must know is that our members are being featured on platforms like iGambia is our members that are actually being featured. There's also the magazines that we're launching this quarter also, featuring startups that are doing great things across Africa. So yeah, there's so many benefits for you as a person aside the cross-country collaboration, because that's what we're trying to foster. Every Saturday, we make sure that our members are communicating with others to see who they want to partner with or collaborate with to move their businesses across board while we're trying to leverage AFCFTA. So yeah, it's a lot of things in there for you.
Wonderful. Guys, SME, if you are listening now, small business, start up, whichever one you think is you prefer or you are inclined to, please don't dull yourself. And to think that the amount to be a member, just a normal member, not executive, a VIP member, is so ridiculous, guys. It's so ridiculous. It's not even enough to buy you a meal, really, in the restaurant. What can you buy with 5,000 naira nowadays?
Yeah.
Really?
$15 for a year.
Please, for a whole year. And the kind of goodness that we are sucking, oh God.
People say to me, just why is it that cheap? And I said, well, because the entire vision of TAAS is not for me to make money from people. Like I said, it's a mandate.
I know. That's when you know. That's when you know. It's not about money making. Please,
do we
guys.
spend money? Yes, we spend money to make all these things happen for you. We pay all the highly paid consultants. We pay them. But all those don't matter if you guys, SMEs, are growing. All those don't matter if you guys are coming into a place in your mind where you know that you're actually the key drivers. All those don't matter if you guys are forging partnerships and collaborations that will bet giant businesses in Africa. All those don't matter if your voices are being heard, you are being seen, and driving major changes on the African continent. And that's what is going to make it that's what's going to make it gratifying for people like me. When I see that you guys are getting up and doing things that people said a startup cannot do, defy the odds. People said, Just, who are you to do a vision like this? I'm defying the odds and I'm going against the same people who say I cannot do it. They should watch 10 years from now and they will wonder why they said it. It's the same thing I want you who is listening to me today. Everybody has said you're a startup, you're small, you don't have money for ads, you don't have money for this. Don't worry. Keep developing, keep growing. Keep entering into a version of yourself that you didn't think could be or you could be. And just within a matter of time. Just within a matter of time. Because one of the things I've begun to see in terms of mindset is if you can't visualize something, you can't enter into it. If all I can fix is your visualization for the month of January, I have done a great job. Because it means that by February, by March, your mind is ready to attract the opportunities hanging around you. Just waiting for your mind to pull it in.
Just walking there. Right.
Yeah.
So good. So good. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure chatting with you. I really do hope that the people who need this will hear this. I'll do my best to also push this out because a lot of people need to know. A lot of startups don't even know what's going on. Like they are still hung up on COVID, disruption, and things. The world is moving. Things are happening. Don't be sitting on your laurels and saying, please. leave COVID where it is. There will be vaccination very soon. And COVID will just be there. I'm like, to be like polio, okay, yeah, okay, COVID, yeah, go and take vaccine, let us rest. Simple. The same typhoid will come. Typhoid, oh, yeah, go to the chemist and get typhoid. It's here to stay. So let's leave that aside. Yes, it has disrupted, but I think like it just thrust us into the next level that we're supposed to enter into, and now we just need to position ourselves for it. So thank you so much for being here. God bless you.
Thank you, Andrew. I had fun. Thank you so much.
I'll put the link to the TAAS, to Just Ibe's handles in the description of this video and of the podcast, so you can connect and be a part of, TAAS if you want to, or just follow the works of Just Ibe. Thank you so much for being here today with us, and until I come your way again next week, do remain amazing. I remain Ejiro Osakede. Bye.
Bye.